A stranger died in my yard, clutching my photo, but the real horror came with a single text. Hi, I'm Mark, 38, and last month I found a dead man in my backyard. It was a Tuesday, not the kind of Tuesday where anything interesting ever happens. Just a boring, post-rain, worms on the sidewalk, microwave leftovers kind of Tuesday. I was home alone, well, not totally alone. My 10-year-old daughter Ellie was at school. My wife Taylor had left me 6 months ago, and the only other consistent companion I had these days was my elderly beagle, Rufus, who mostly just slept and farted like it was a sport. I was halfway through folding laundry and halfway through feeling sorry for myself when Rufus started going ballistic at the back door. Not his usual, someone's walking a dog across the street bark. This was something more urgent, frantic. I dropped the shirt I was folding, muttered something about it probably being a squirrel, and walked to the glass sliding door. That's when I saw him. A man, lying face down in the middle of my backyard. At first, I thought maybe he was drunk. We had a bar a few blocks over, and once in a while, someone wandered into the wrong yard looking for their Uber. But this guy wasn't moving. I slid open the door slowly. Rufus shot past me like he was 5 years younger, sniffed the men once, and immediately backed off whining. That's when my gut dropped. I walked out onto the wet grass, each step feeling heavier than the last. He was lying twisted, arm underneath him, like he fell mid-run. He was barefoot, and his neck, it was twisted at a wrong angle, like a broken action figure. Someone tried to pose violently. I crouched down beside him, trying not to touch anything. His skin was pale, like freezer chicken pale. The smell hit me next, not like rot, but like old copper, blood. And that's when I noticed it. His hand was gripping something. I leaned closer. It was a photograph. Wet, crumpled, clutched so tightly the corners had dug into his palm. I looked around. No footprints. No broken fence. No sign of how he got here. Just one dead man in my backyard holding a photograph of me and Ellie. Last summer. At the beach. I backed up so fast, I nearly slipped on the wet grass. Then I ran inside and called the police. The dispatcher's voice was calm and professional, but I must have sounded like a lunatic. There's a dead guy in my yard, and he's holding a picture of me and my daughter. There was a pause. Then she asked, "Sir, is the man threatening you?" I barked out a laugh. "He's dead." Pretty sure that disqualifies him. Cops arrived within 10 minutes. 3 patrol cars. Lights, but no sirens. The neighbors peeked through blinds and stood on porches pretending to water plants. One officer made a beeline for me while the others secured the backyard. I stood barefoot in the kitchen, hugging myself in a t-shirt and boxers. The officer introduced himself as Detective Crawley, mid-40s. Tired eyes, hair that had surrendered to his receding hairline years ago. He asked the standard questions. Did I know the man? No. Did I let anyone into the house recently? No. Any recent threats? No. Any enemies? I mean, probably. I used to be a lawyer. He nodded, took some notes, then asked to see the photo. I hadn't touched it, but another officer came in holding it with gloves. He slid it into a plastic bag and showed it to Crawley. It was the one I remembered, Ellie in her pink floaties, laughing mid-blink and sunburned. Taylor must have taken it. Nothing unusual, except for the tiny red X drawn in pen over my face. Not over Ellie's, just mine. Crawley's jaw clenched almost imperceptibly. He asked if I'd ever seen the photo before. I told him we had dozens like that from the trip, but I'd never seen one marked up. Could be nothing, he said. Could be a message. They took the body away in a zipped black bag while Rufus whimpered at the door. No ID on the man, no wallet. Just a photo and the wrong neck angle. Crawley said they'd run prints, check missing persons. Meanwhile, he strongly suggested I not stay in the house tonight. I told him Ellie was coming home from school in 3 hours. He glanced at the clock, then softened a little. Don't tell her yet. We'll keep it quiet. Just say it's a gas leak or something. You got someone you can stay with? I said I'd figure it out. After they left, I sat in the living room, lights off, blinds down, staring at the now empty backyard. I was trying to calm my breathing when my phone buzzed with the text, from a number I didn't recognize. You weren't supposed to be home. I dropped the phone, Not figuratively, literally like a dumb horror movie character. It hit the floor face down with a thud, and I just stared at it like it might grow teeth and bite me. Rufus growled low and pressed up against my leg, like even he understood something wasn't right. I picked up the phone with shaking hands. The message stared back at me in that bland, emotionless bubble. You weren't supposed to be home. No name, no emoji, no threat, but somehow more terrifying than if they'd written going to kill you, because whoever this was had a plan, and I'd messed it up. I called Detective Crawley immediately, straight to voicemail. I left a frantic message, something like, "Hey, that dead guy in my yard? I think he was here for me. Someone just texted me saying I wasn't supposed to be home. I have a daughter. I need help." It came out more like one long panicked wheeze. I was still staring at the message when another text came through. "You weren't on the schedule." "What schedule?" I typed back, "Stupid, I know. But adrenaline doesn't always work with common sense. Who is this?" 3 dots. Typing. Then nothing, gone. I backed away from the phone like it might explode. Rufus barked once and then trotted to the front door, whining. Then he peed himself. That had only ever happened once during a thunderstorm so loud it rattled the windows. But now, silence. Except wait. Not silence. I moved toward the front window and carefully lifted the edge of the curtain. A car, not a police cruiser, gray sedan, parked across the street. No one got out. No one moved. The windows were tinted, and the engine was running. I stepped back and grabbed the nearest object I could find, a metal baseball bat Ellie used for t-ball. Not ideal home defense, but it felt better than nothing. Called Crawley again. Still voicemail. I considered calling 911, but what would I say? Someone's parked legally on my street, and my dog peed himself. I needed proof. Something. I crept upstairs to my bedroom, bat in hand, and opened the closet. Way in the back, under a pile of Christmas decorations, I had an old box of stuff from my firm days. Inside was a dusty Nikon camera with a zoom lens. I used to take wildlife shots back when I thought hobbies would save my marriage. I pulled it out, crouched low by the bedroom window, and zoomed in on the sedan. There, driver's seat. I couldn't see the face clearly, but I saw a phone held up to their ear, talking to someone. Then their head turned right at me. I dropped to the floor, heart pounding, and my phone buzzed again. Smile. I stayed on the floor longer than was dignified for a grown man with a mortgage. Face pressed to carpet. Bat clenched so hard my hand cramped. My brain kept shouting, "Don't move," while another, dumber part whispered, "What if they come inside and you're lying here like a discarded coat?" I crawled to the bed and used it like cover. Peeking back out the window, the gray sedan was gone. No tires. No engine noise. Just an empty curb and a mailbox that suddenly felt very exposed. My phone buzzed again before I could even exhale. Relax. This isn't personal. I laughed. A sharp, ugly laugh. "Oh good," I muttered to the empty room. "That makes it fine." Texted back with fingers that barely worked. "Then what is it?" This time, the reply came instantly. "You were a variable." That word hit harder than the dead body. Variable. Like I wasn't a person, just a math problem that failed to cooperate. I finally got through to Crawley. He didn't interrupt this time. When I finished, there was a long pause on the line. Then he said, very carefully, "Mark, did you ever work a case involving financial crimes? Something big, something where people went to prison?" My stomach dropped. "Yeah, several. That was kind of the job." Another pause. Then, "One of the men released early this year died last night. Same description as the body in your yard." My mouth went dry. "Why was he at my house?" Crawley exhaled. "Because you were the lead attorney who put him away." I slid down the wall until I was sitting on the floor. "So this is revenge?" "No," Crawley said. "Revenge would have been you. Clean. Simple. This looks like interference." Before I could ask what that meant, headlights flashed through my front window. A different car this time. Black SUV. It parked directly in my driveway, and someone knocked on my door. Slow, firm, like they knew I was home. I stood there in the hallway, staring at the front door like it had grown fangs. The knock came again, same rhythm. Not frantic, not threatening, just calm, like someone confident they'd be let in. Rufus was under the kitchen table now, vibrating. I tiptoed to the door and checked the peephole. A woman, mid-30s maybe, dressed in black jeans, dark hoodie, no logos, no makeup. Her hair was pulled back in a no-nonsense bun, hands in her pockets. She looked like the opposite of a threat, but something about her posture told me she was far more dangerous than the guy who died in my yard. I didn't open the door. I just said, "You have 5 seconds to tell me who you are, or I'm calling the police." She didn't flinch. "You already did. Twice. And I'm not here to hurt you, Mark." The fact she used my name chilled me. "Who are you?" "I'm the one trying to keep you alive. And right now, you're losing that battle." Click. That was the lock. I don't know why I opened the door. Curiosity. Desperation. A complete lapse in judgment brought on by the fact I hadn't eaten since breakfast and was running on cold coffee and existential dread. But I opened it. She stepped in without waiting for permission, shut the door behind her, and locked it. Her eyes scanned the room like a bodyguard doing a sweep. She had a small earpiece and one of those voices that sounded like it had been trained never to panic. "Name's Casey," she said. "I work with people who get marked." Marked? She nodded toward the phone, now bagged and sitting on my coffee table. That was step one. "Who are these people?" I asked. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she walked over to my window and pushed the curtain aside a few inches to peek out. "I can't tell you everything yet. Just this: you were flagged by a system that's not supposed to exist. Some of the clients you helped put away, they made friends. Rich, dangerous friends. Ones who use contractors instead of courtrooms." I felt sick. "You're saying this is a hit job?" "No," she said. "I'm saying this was practice." That froze me. Practice for what? Casey looked at me, then, really looked. And for the first time, I saw the exhaustion in her eyes. Like she hadn't slept in days. "Mark, they weren't trying to kill you." She pulled out a phone and tapped a few times. Turned the screen toward me. A video.it was the dead man in my yard. But it was from above. Drone footage. My backyard. My house. Me. From earlier that morning. "They were watching your reaction," Casey said. "Timing your call to police. Gauging your panic. This isn't about revenge. It's about behavior analysis." I couldn't breathe. "They're planning something bigger," she said quietly. "And they're testing you for it." I sank onto the couch like gravity had tripled. The air felt too thin. Testing me for what, exactly? "I'm not a spy. I'm not special." Casey didn't sit. She moved like someone who didn't trust chairs. "Doesn't matter. You're a variable. High-stakes ops don't like variables." I blinked. "I'm a divorced dad with a Beagle and a Costco membership. I fold laundry during true crime podcasts. I am not high-stakes anything." She pulled a slim black folder from her backpack and dropped it on the coffee table. "Tell that to whoever paid 6 figures for a psych profile simulation run on your home." I hesitated, then opened the folder. Inside were still shots from my house front door, kitchen, Ellie's bedroom window, angles that couldn't have been taken by someone on foot. There were timestamps, notes in blocky, sterile font. Subject: leaves lights on in stairwell, habitual pathing. Back. Door unlocked 3 nights this week. Risk normalization. Child's. Bedroom faces street, low obstruction. Felt like I was reading a test. I didn't know I was taking and failing. "These people," Casey said, "they're not burglars. They're not thrill killers. They build risk models, test responses, calculate entry and exit routes down to the second. But they're not AI. They need human variables to validate the models. Real homes. Real reactions." I looked up. "You're saying they killed that man in my yard, on purpose, just to see what I'd do?" Casey's expression didn't change. "Probably gave him a choice. Complete the run, earn your debt forgiven, or don't, and..." She gestured toward the backyard. "I've seen it before. You weren't supposed to be home. That's the only reason he died there instead of in some warehouse." I couldn't process it. Not fully. "So what now?" What? Move? Live in a bunker?" She reached into her pocket and handed me a flash drive. "No, you follow the breadcrumbs. This drive has names, drop points. One internal comes ping I intercepted before they ghosted the server. I'm not a hacker." "No, but you're a lawyer, with enemies. And the kind of mind they want to map." She paused. "Also, a daughter." That landed like a punch. "Ellie, Jesus Christ. Are they watching her? Casey's eyes flicked toward the hallway like she half expected to see a sniper laser. They didn't mark her, not yet, but they know she exists. And if they think you're compromised, they'll pivot. Children are powerful. Leverage. I stood up, dizzy with anger. Then we stopped them. Call the FBI, NSA, hell, Ghostbusters. I don't care. She was already shaking her head. No government response. These contractors are former government, DARPA, black budget stuff that doesn't officially exist. You sound the alarm, they scatter. You'll never get another ping. I sat back down, heart pounding. What do I do? Casey gave the tiniest smile. We go on offense. I stared at her like she just handed me a lightsaber and told me to storm the Death Star. Offense? I sell real estate law now. My greatest act of violence in the last decade was swatting a fly with a legal pad. Casey smirked, just barely. Then it's time to upgrade your weapon. She tossed a small black pouch on the table. I opened it expecting a flash drive or something equally nerdy. Instead, it was a burner phone, a thin switchblade, and because apparently this had turned into a Jason Bourne film a keycard, I blinked. What's this open? A secret vault? A trapdoor? My imminent nervous breakdown? Their safe house, she said, like it was no big deal. One of them, anyway. In Fairfax. The man in your backyard came from there. I tracked the vehicle they used to drop him off, and backtraced the registration to a ghost shell company with one physical tie, a rental unit in a strip mall. Unit B7. Let me guess, I said. It's not a tanning salon. Only if your tan comes with blueprints and kill lists. She sat across from me, finally, elbows on knees. Serious now, Mark? This is a fork in the road. You go to the cops, they'll file a report, lose it in red tape, maybe assign some board agent to knock on the door of B7 next month. These people, they'll be gone by morning, rubbed my face. And if I go with you? You see the truth. You get proof. You find out who's watching your daughter and why. That did it. I nodded slowly. Okay, what's the plan? Casey glanced at her watch. They do nightly switch outs at 11:15 p.m. One guy leaves. Two arrive. That gives us a window. We go in fast, grab the hard drives. Get out. She arched an eyebrow. You think I'd give a dad a knife and shove him into a den of trained psychos alone? I mean, yes. She didn't laugh. Just handed me the burner phone. This has GPS preloaded to the location. Backup channel if we get separated. No names. No calls. Only texts. You carry, I lead. This escalated fast. By 10:45 p.m. I was dressed in black sweats, hoodie, the switchblade tucked in my waistband like a prop in a low-budget heist movie. Rufus whined as I kissed Ellie goodnight and tucked her in like it was any other Tuesday. Lorraine, my neighbor, was watching her, just in case. I told her I had a last-minute meeting. Technically not a lie. Just omitted the part about breaking and entering. The drive to Fairfax was quiet. Tense. Casey handled the wheel like she used to drive for Formula One and do surveillance in her spare time. I kept checking my rear view out of habit. We parked in an empty lot next to an abandoned laundromat. Unit B7 is through the alley. 2 doors in. I disable the cameras. You cover me from the back stairwell. If I say burn, you run. No questions. What's the safe word if everything's fine? There's no version where everything's fine. She disappeared into the shadows like a ghost with military training, leaving me crouched behind a dumpster, questioning every decision that had brought me here. My knees were starting to cramp when my earpiece crackled. Move. I darted forward, heart pounding in my throat. The back entrance had a keypad. Casey was already there, tapping in a code like she'd done it 1,000 times. The door clicked open. Inside, the place looked normal. Strip lighting, beige walls, a half-eaten sandwich on a desk, a soda can sweating on a coaster. But then I saw the wall. Photos, grainy surveillance shots. Some of me, some of Ellie, and not just us other people, dozens of them. Red circles around faces, arrows, numbers. This is the playbook, Casey said, already moving toward a server rack. They're mapping reactions, building psychological profiles off real-world panic responses. Mark, you're not the only one. I scanned the photos, recognizing one woman from the news, a whistleblower who vanished 6 months ago. A man from a podcast about unexplained disappearances. A hard drive clicked. Casey ripped it from the tower and shoved it in her bag. Got it. Let's footsteps. From the front. Too early, Bort, Casey hissed. Window. Now. We bolted through the hallway, smashed out the back window, landed hard on the gravel. I scraped my arm. She twisted her ankle. We ran like hell back to the car and peeled out before headlights caught us. Neither of us spoke for 5 minutes. Finally, I gasped. Did we get enough? Casey was already plugging the drive into her portable reader. Her expression was grim. Oh, yeah, she said. We got everything. And you're not going to like who's funding it. We pulled into a vacant strip mall parking lot 2 towns over. Casey's go-to-dead zone for signal interference. She parked under a broken streetlight and opened her laptop on the dashboard like she'd done this 100 times before. The hard drive whirred softly, filling the silence between us. My heart was hammering. Not from the break-in, or the running, or the fact that I just launched myself through a window like a middle-aged action figure. No, this was worse. Because whatever was on that drive, it wasn't just about me anymore. It was bigger, and Casey's face confirmed it. Her eyes darted across the screen, reading line after line of data. I tried to follow, but couldn't make sense of the code names, the acronyms, the cold bureaucracy of evil written in Excel cells. Finally, she exhaled. There it is. What? She turned the screen so I could see. Project Reverb funding source. Black Arrow Initiative Private Defense Contractor Tier 2. Simulation. Suburban Psychological Collapse Domestic Asset Phase Subjects Tagged. 184. Primary filters. Single parents. Recent trauma. Strategic intelligence background. Low social volatility. Secondary filters. Civilian response latency. Emotional endurance under isolation escalation thresholds. He stared. What the hell does that mean? Casey scrolled. It means they've been testing people like you to model breakdown points in community resilience, family units, police response times, school lockdown speed. It's not revenge. It's not about you personally. She looked up. It's war games. Using real people. And Ellie's part of your profile, your trigger point. They're watching how far someone like you goes to protect her. The weight of it hit me so hard I had to brace against the dash. All of this, I whispered. So they can build better control models? Worse, she said. So they can sell them. She opened another folder. A purchase order. A literal invoice. Client. Consortium Buyer Group Southeast Asia Branch License Package. Tier 2 Domestic Disruption Scenario Bundle Cost. $4.8 million terms. Pre-calibrated profiles. Live subject response metrics. Plug and play operation units. They're selling psychological war kits, I said. Like it's Microsoft Office. Exactly, she said. And thanks to you, we just stole the whole catalog. I stared out the window at the empty parking lot. The cracked pavement under the tires. The way Rufus's old tennis ball still sat in my back seat. Unaware that his owner had just kicked a hornet's nest. So now what? I asked. We go to the press? Burn it all down? Casey looked me dead in the eye. No, she said. We go louder. I've got contacts. People who make leaks go viral before a lawyer can blink. Whistleblower groups. Ex-agents who still believe in what this country pretends to stand for. We get this into the bloodstream of the internet, and we don't stop until someone listens. And if they come after us? She actually smiled. Then we'll know we were right. That was 6 weeks ago. Since then, Project Reverb went viral. The footage, the documents, the names all dumped online in the biggest whistleblower leak since Snowden. Congress pretended to be outraged. Talk shows ate it up. People panicked, donated, tweeted. For a few days, I was a hashtag. But then, the cycle moved on. I got offered book deals. I declined. I got emails from other variables. I wrote them back. Casey disappeared off grid again. Said she'd contact me if she needed a lawyer. I said she better. As for Ellie, she's sleeping better now. Safer. The new house has reinforced locks, indoor cameras, motion lights. I still tuck her in every night. I still check the windows. I still keep the bat by my bed. But I sleep a little easier now. Because the people who tried to make me a variable, they underestimated the one constant they couldn't control. A dad who's not afraid anymore, and a daughter worth going to war for.